Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Shirley Leasyke, and I will be facilitator for you today. Today's webinar is Online Signups and Calendars, presented by members of our National Technology Committee, Nikki Grebe, Chris Light, and Joanne Cabin. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's session. On your computer desktop, you see a panel in the upper right corner. You see an orange arrow called a Grab tab. At any time, you can click on the arrow and expand or minimize the panel. You're listening and using your computer speaker system by default. If you would prefer to join over the phone, just select Telephone in the audio pane, and the dial-in information will be displayed. You can also ask a question by using the hand icon you see on the left of your panel. At any time, click on the hand icon. I will make sure you will be able to ask your question to the presenter as soon as possible. You may also send in your questions at any time during the presentation. Make sure you select For Organizers Only in the drop-down. If we cannot answer them during the session, we will address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. And finally, there is a PowerPoint PDF file located in the handout section of your panel. Additionally, this session video will be uploaded onto our national website for your viewing at a later date. I would like to turn this over to our first presenter, Nikki Grebe.
Hello. So today I'm going to try to give an overview of our online sign-up solution that's available on our WordPress multi-site. This uses plugins called the PTA Volunteer Sign-Up Sheets and PTA Volunteer Sign-Up Sheets.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
I'll start again with the overview. I'm trying to give an overview of the online sign-up solution available on our multi-site. This uses two plugins called the PTA Volunteer Sign-Up Sheets and PTA Volunteer Sign-Up Sheet Calendar Displays. We have licenses to use for chapters to use this on any WordPress site. So if they have a standalone WordPress site, they can also get these plugins and download them, install them on their site. I'm going to end with a brief summary of other solutions that chapters use for signups. Okay, so the key capabilities of these plugins is to create online signups, and you can display those signups on a calendar. The calendar gives you several options to customize the views. You can also send email reminders for signups. You can configure up to 2 of those and say how far in advance you want those reminders to be sent. You can also configure if you want your members to be able to clear themselves from tasks or shifts they've signed up for. And if you do, you can say how many days in advance you want them to be able to do that. The plugins also give you the ability to assign roles to others to assist with managing the signups and export the signup data to Excel. Here's an example of a signup sheet. Basically, it consists of tasks that a member can sign up for. If they click on the sign up link, it'll open to a page that allows them to sign up. If they're logged in, it's going to pre-populate their information so that you have less typos. When they click sign me up, they'll show up, it'll come back to this sign up page and it'll show them listed as signed up. The plugins also pre-populate a page called the Current Volunteer Sign Up page that gives a listing of all of the open signups. And if the member's logged in, down at the bottom, it'll show all of the tasks that they're currently signed up for. You can also display these signups on a calendar. Here is an example of a thrift shop calendar. when someone clicks on the sign up link, it's going to open up a dialog. If I'm logged in, it'll pre-populate the information, and then I can simply click on the Sign Me Up button, and it'll return back to the calendar. Here you'll notice a bunch of X's. Those are the clear links. Now this screenshot is one I took when I was signed in as an administrator, and so it's showing them for everyone. When your member views the calendar, if they're logged in, they'll only see these X's or clear links for the shifts that they're signed up for. You can also use the calendars to display events with no signups. Here's an example of a chapter event calendar with no sign-up links. The plugins allow us to assign different roles to members. So this is in ascending order of capabilities. I don't have members listed here, but basically all they can do is view calendars or sign-up sheets and sign themselves up for events. And if you allow, they can also clear themselves from events. Each sign-up sheet requires that a chair, at least one or more chairs be assigned. This can be considered a non-technical position in that you have the option for them to be able to be CC'd on all email notifications. So anytime a member signs up, a confirmation email is sent, and you can choose to have your chairs be CC'd on all of those emails. They can also be set as the reply to email recipient. So when a member receives an email, say a reminder email, and they reply to that email saying either they can no longer do their shift or have a question about it, the email response will go to the chairs. Then there's a concept of sign-up sheet managers. These have limited access to the website backend. It gives them the capability to create sign-up sheets and calendars. And then when they are signing up on a calendar or sign-up sheet, they're able to search by name. So when they sign up, it'll come up pre-populated with their information. I could go ahead and replace my name, say the first name or the last name, with someone else. Say I type Chris. It will give me all of the options for Chris. I choose the one I want, and it's going to pre-populate or autofill their information on the sign-up form. And then I can click sign up, and that member is signed up. Sign-up sheet managers can also clear all members from sign-ups. So when they view a sign-up or a calendar, it's going to have clear links for everyone and not just themselves. Most chapters utilize different levels for sign-up sheet managers. For example, my chapter has a lead sign-up sheet manager. This is basically the person who's very knowledgeable with the system. They create all the initial sign-ups and calendars. And then we have chapter schedulers that are responsible for the different schedule or calendars. They can go in and update the tasks, dates, and information as needed. They'll provide support to the membership for signing up or clearing shifts. And because they have that search and autofill capability, they can do mass entry of volunteers. Finally, you've got your website administrator. They are required to help with the initial setup of the system and for creating web pages. Shirley, before I go on, do we have any questions?
Let me check. No, Nikki, not now.
Okay. I'd like to now just jump in and give you a quick view of the back end of the website. When you log into the system, in WordPress, as a sign-up sheet manager and administrator, you will see the dashboard. Administrators have this a panel on the left with a lot of options. When the sign-up sheet manager comes in, they'll have this panel on the left, but it'll be limited to a subset of the options. The two areas that we're going to talk about today are sign-up sheets, just down here at the bottom, and calendars. Okay. I'm going to start with settings. So the main settings are quite intimidating. Don't want you to worry about that. There are a lot of them, but when we set up your plugins, we'll configure the recommended defaults for you. There are a few that we'll steer you towards, as you might want to customize them for your chapter. And the first is whether you want to show a phone field on your sign-up form and whether you want it required. So this can be in addition to your email address. There's also settings for whether you require login to be able to view or sign up for sign-ups. We recommend it because it'll auto-populate the members' information on the sign-up forms when they go to sign up. They'll also be able to see clear links. And if you utilize that current volunteer sign-ups page, they'll see the shifts that they are currently signed up for. The downside is that it requires an extra step. They have to log in. It's also not accessible to community volunteers if you require login. There is a workaround for that, though. You can create a calendar that's configured to not require login, and you can then email that to community volunteers. Another area that some chapters want to change is the behavior for expired signups. So once a date is passed, the signup is considered expired. If this is checked, this automatically clear expired signups, those will be deleted from the system. If you want to do any kind of reporting, we recommend that you uncheck this and that you go ahead and check to show the expired tasks on your view sign up lists so you can export those. Okay, I'm going to switch over now to email settings. There's a tab here for email settings. We're going to ask you to configure your from email. We recommend you go ahead and leave this as signups@assistanceleague.org. If you would really like, you could use a chapter email address, but it cannot be a Yahoo or AOL address, as those providers don't authenticate emails if they're not sent from their service, and so the emails are never received by the member. Because you've got just this one from email address, we recommend that you go ahead and check this reply to chairs setting. Again, what this does is when a member replies to an email, it will go back to the chair assigned for that sign up. Down below, you're able to configure or change your email templates for both your confirmation email, the cleared emails, and then reminder emails. You're able to change what you want sent and include tags for your signups. Down at the bottom, there's one last setting I want to show you, and that is disable chair emails. If this is checked, the chairs are not CC'd on all of the confirmation emails when someone signs up or clears. If you uncheck this, they will be. My chapter chairs don't want to be CC'd on everything. They'll just check the calendars regularly. Okay, I'm going to switch over now to all sheets. It's this first option. This shows you the list of sign-up sheets you currently have created. And as you hover over the name, it gives you the option to view signups, edit the sheet, or edit the tasks. I'm going to start with view sheets, view signups. This gives you a listing of all the signups for that event and gives you the ability down here at the bottom. There's an export sheet as CSV. This allows you to export to Excel. So if you want to do any reporting, filtering of the data, any calculations on it, you can do so with Excel. Okay, I'm going to now go ahead and just demo creating a sign-up sheet. This is the Add Sheet and Edit Sheet screen. So you come in, I'm going to create a new one. I'm just going to call it Test. You have to select an event type, and there's several to choose from. I'm just going to choose multi-day for now. Later in the presentation, I'm going to show you examples of the different kinds and when you would want to use those. This View with Calendar setting basically defines the link destination from the current volunteer sign-up page. So that's that page with the listing of sign-ups. If you want it to go to a calendar, you would select from one of the calendars you've already created. If you don't, if you want it just to be viewed as a sign-up sheet, you would leave no calendar view. Here's where you would, the no sign-up event is the box you would check if you're doing a chapter calendar where you don't want any sign-up links. Here you have the ability to say how many reminders you want and how many days in advance. So I'm going to say go ahead and send the first reminder at 10 days before, and then say the second reminder at 3 days before. If you don't want to have a second reminder, you just leave it blank. Show clear links for signups is where you say whether you want members to be able to clear themselves. And here I'm going to put, I only want members to be able to clear themselves up until 3 days before the event. So once it's 3 days before the event, the clear links will no longer be visible on the calendar. Then down here, you're going to go ahead and enter your chair names. I'm going to enter myself. Okay, and then if I wanted any text to show with my sign up, I could enter it here. Just going to go ahead and save that. Once you save a new sign up sheet, it opens automatically to the edit or add tasks screen. So you can right ahead go and enter your tasks. So I'm just going to create one here. I'm going to call it an AM shift. I have to enter a date for it. It gives me that a nice pop-up that I can choose a date for. You see how many people are needed for that task. So let's say we need 3 people in our thrift shop for the AM. And then you go ahead and enter your time. It's got a nice pop-up for this. It's at 9 AM. End time is 12:15. There are these other settings here. Ones of interest are enable quantities. If, say you wanted to do an RSVP and you wanted people to be able to sign up for 3 slots, you can check this box and it'll then ask them for a quantity when they sign up, and they can say, I'm RSVPing for 3 people. Another one is this detail needed. When you check it, it's going to add a box to your sign up form where members can enter information. So for example, if you were asking them to bring snacks or something like that, you could leave snacks you're bringing here. Okay.
Nikki, can I interrupt just for a second and
Yes.
remind the participants that if they do have a question, there's a hand to the left-hand side, a hand icon. Just go ahead and click that, and we'll make sure that we answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Okay. Now, as I said, you have the ability to display your signups as a sign-up sheet page or on a calendar. On the left is the sign up sheet page. It's basically a listing of the tasks. If it was a multi-day event, the dates would just be listed in order and it'd be one long page of tasks. This works best for events with no dates. Clearly you can't display those on a calendar. Or for single day events where it might not make sense to put those on a calendar, especially if there are a lot of tasks associated with it. On the right shows the calendar. This is what most chapters use. You can see it's pretty intuitive, allows you to see a lot at a glance. I'm going to go ahead to the back end again, and I'm going to show you just the start of calendars. So if you were wanting to create a calendar, you would go to the calendar section. You're just going to hit, well, calendars shows you the list you've got of current calendars. And again, as you hover over, it gives you options. If I wanted to add one, I could either select the add calendar over here on the menu panel, or there's an add calendar button right here. So when I create a calendar, I give it a title. And if I want any text to display above the calendar, I can enter it here. And then I'm going to select which sign-up sheets are going to be shown on this calendar. The default is all sheets, which I always delete. And then I select what I want. I can choose one or more sign-up sheets to include on the calendar.
Nikki, may I interrupt?
Yes.
Judy would like to answer a question. Judy, I'm going to unmute you. Please voice your question to Nikki. Judy? Judy?
Shall I just?
Hello? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and text her
Okay.
and see
All
what
right.
type
So
of question.
Okay. She might need to unmute her computer. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the presentation now because I found it easiest to explain some of the different calendar settings to you by just turning them all on, and you can see this on the right. So you have the option to display your sheet titles and or your task titles. This OSB in-house volunteers is an example of the sheet title, and then we have the task titles of chairman of the day, helper, and data entry. You have the option to show the times, task times. You can see those are above the task titles. You have the option to show a view and sign up link. This basically takes them to a sign up sheet view with all of the sign ups for the event, or individual sign up or task sign up links. Those are the ones under each of the different tasks. Right here. I tend not to use the view and sign up link because it takes you away from the calendar to sign up sheets, and versus these task signups I can configure by using the show sign up form in pop-up to open up just as a pop-up that's down here on the right, and when I hit sign me up, it returns me directly to the calendar. You have the option to display the names of the people who have signed up or not, and a clear link for those. Again, members will only see the clear links if they're logged in. Finally, there's this summary. Here, a task summary. It shows here for helpers that we have 2 signed up and 8 open slots still remaining. There are also the options for requiring login. Again, these override the sign-up sheet settings. And again, I recommend that you use show sign-up form in pop-up, as it's just a nice workflow. Stays contained within the calendar. Okay, any further questions? Or before I go on to explaining examples of different events?
Yes, hold on, let me grab the question.
Okay.
Okay, does the calendar system send a meeting invite to your home email and that home email account. And that's Sue Bost asked that.
You can send an email with a link to a sign up or a calendar and invite them to sign up. The system itself doesn't allow you to send to everyone. You have the option to send to everyone currently signed up for an event, but not just to your entire membership. So we'll utilize Constant Contact to send to our membership lists links to our calendars and signups. Okay. There aren't any further questions. I'd like to go on to just explain the different types of events. Probably the easiest to explain is an ongoing event. This is for signups with no dates. So like committees, our chapter has commitments to committees that last for a fiscal year. And so we allow them to sign up via an ongoing event. We also use it for sublists. So here's an example for Operation School Bell where we have a sublist created. We say as many as 30 people can sign up, and we ask them when they sign up to give them their availabilities using this Details Needed tab. And you can see here when they go to sign up on the bottom right, it gives them that box and prompts them to enter their availability. These are best displayed on a sign-up sheet because they don't have a date. Here's an example of a single event. These are for one-day events. For example, say a social that's on one day or meeting RSVPs. They have one date associated with them. You enter it at the top here, and then the tasks below. There are recurring events. This should be used for tasks that repeat frequently over a long period of time. For example, for Operation School Bell, it goes for 3 months. And every day we have the same needs. We have 2 chairmen of the day. They start at the same time. We have 10 helpers. They start at the same time, and a data entry person. Every day, it has exactly the same tasks with the same numbers needed, same times, and same location. I then, from this date picker, choose the dates that I want the sign up to appear. And here on the right, it's displayed on a calendar. And you can see I had not checked for the 12th, the 13th, or the 16th of April, and so those are empty on the calendar. The last type of event is a multi-day event. These are for events that occur over a short period of time and allows for different tasks. So each task has its own date. You can see here for our OSB retail, it occurs over about 3 weeks. And we go every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Some shifts start in the morning and have more helpers because the kids show up on a bus all at the same time, versus others are in the afternoons or evenings and require less helpers because they're staggered. And then we have on our last day, we require less helpers because it's a lighter day and used mainly for makeup.
Okay, Nikki, we have one more question. I'm going to unmute Linda.
Yeah, yes.
You can ask your question. Go ahead.
Okay. The sheets that you have already prepared, can any of those be used as templates? And we could just make our appropriate changes to them?
We were not able to replicate signups for each chapter. If you have specific ones that you would like, us from the PTA team, Signups team, can help you get those created.
Okay, thank you.
So a lot of times your events don't fall into these nice boxes. You know, you don't have exactly the same tasks on every day, or you've got special exceptions here and there. And so we recommend that you, for those situations, you build calendars that display multiple signups. You use recurring events to capture the recurring tasks, and then add a multi-day event to capture any of the exceptions. Here's an example of where Greater Williamton, what Greater Williamton does for their thrift shop. They, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, they have three staffers, versus on Thursday and Friday, they have 2. On Saturday, while it's got 3 staffers, it ends an hour before Tuesday and Wednesday. So they've created 3 recurring signups to capture those different patterns. And then they have a multi-day event that captures all the exceptions. So for example, say they've got a sale with extra shifts, or they're only open half day on one of these days, or they've got training sessions where someone's going to shadow. They enter those things into a multi-day event and display them as well. You can see here on the right, the March example shows all of the days that their thrift shop is open, and it looks nice and integrated. You can't distinguish that there's 3 recurring events on this calendar. Then down in May, you can see the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, where they have a sidewalk sale, where they've got extra staffers. This is an example of where they're also displaying the multi-day event to add 2 extra staffers to each of their shifts. Okay, any questions before I go on? That's a lot to take in. All right. Nope. Okay, so I want to now show you how I would recommend you, or the different ways you can present this to your members. Oops. So here we have a test site, and we recommend that you put these under your members menu so that they're visible only members. You can create menu items where you display either a calendar or a sign up. Here's an example of a chapter calendar. Or you could create a page and put links to your calendars or your sign-up sheets. And so here's some calendars, here's a sign-up sheet, and when they click on those links, it'll go directly to those. As we discussed earlier, you can also email links out to your membership. We typically do that, notifying them of need for help, and if login's required, they'll be prompted to log in when they click on the link. Once they log in, they're redirected to the page. Okay. There are some optional extensions that you might be interested in. The first is locations. I kind of slipped that in there on one of the slides. This provides you the capability to assign a location to either a sign-up sheet, so if all of the tasks are at the same location, you can assign it to the sheet, or to each individual task. You create the locations using the OSB Event Manager extension, and then select from a drop-down box. Here on the right, you can see location is an option. You can drop down and it'll show you the list of locations that you've selected. The locations can then be configured to be displayed on sign-up sheet lists and on calendars. There's also a groups extension. This gives you the ability to assign a group label that helps you organize or filter your sheets. Over here on the bottom right, I'm showing that current volunteer signups page where I've organized each of the signups by assigning a group to them. So I've got all the Operation School Bell ones under an Operation School Bell group, all the Thrift Shop under a Thrift Shop group. We already talked some about the email volunteers. You have the option to send an email to volunteers currently signed up for a selected sign up. So just those already signed up for that sign up, or to everybody signed up for any sign up. So if you're interested in these solutions, you can contact one of the team members. The email addresses were on that first slide. We'll help you get the plugins activated and configured. There are detailed instructions. They're available on the technology page on the national website. And we'll assign you a team member that'll walk through the initial process and be able to answer any questions that arise. Unless we have further questions, I can move on to other solutions chapters are using.
Oh, we have one question.
Okay.
Lisa, I just unmuted you. Lisa Parks. Nikki, there's no response. Elisa, if you can hear me, go ahead and just type your question, and I'll get back to Nikki as soon as I see the question. Go ahead, Nick. Okay.
So there are several different solutions that chapters are using today for online signups. One I'm sure you guys have heard of is Sign Up Genius. This also gives you the ability to send text reminders. I found that the free version is not adequate for use. You only have one sign up without ads, and I want to say only 1,000 emails. My chapter would be up in the $24.99 a month because we have many more than just 5 signups running at a time, and we have, I think, 7 or 8 sign-up sheet managers. Another solution being used by Long Beach is Volunteer Scheduler Pro. This is a very feature-rich solution. The standard version is required if you want online shift leaders. That's the same as sign-up sheet managers. And it includes things like auto-scheduling, repeating assignments, a sub-list, text reminders, even a check-in kiosk where they can enter their hours. The price ranges based on the number of volunteers that you have. My chapter has more than 300 volunteers, so we would be at least in for $77 a month. Then there's the full volunteer management solutions that a lot of chapters use. Chapter Web is very feature-rich. It has solutions far beyond online signups, but it's quite pricey. It's $99 a month and has a $1,000 setup fee. And then they also charge for additional add-ons like payment processing. Balgistics is another solution. While it's not quite as feature-rich, it does allow you to build a solution for yourself. Basically scales the price based on the number of records that you need and the level of solutions that you want. So one example is if you're a relatively small chapter and you don't need an on-site check-in, check-out solution or document storage, you could get by for $32 a month. If you're a larger chapter or you want full solutions, you're probably closer to $60 a month. All of these solutions are not synced with Chapter Hub, so as your membership changes or their email addresses change, things like that, you'll have to make the changes in both Chapter Hub and in these different solutions. They also require separate logins, whereas our solution is tied, the solution on the multi-site is tied to, it is the same login as national and your chapter's login. Okay, any questions?
Lisa, can you respond? Oh, one more. Susan?
Yes, thank you. I wasn't sure whether it was my end or your end. I missed the beginning of the slideshow and wondered what the plugins were, number one. And also I wanted to ask the general question as to, within the chapters that are using any of these tools, what's the general success rate or usage by the members over what period of time?
Okay, so the first slide, I believe, was this one. The plugins are called PTA Volunteer Sign-Up Sheets and PTA Volunteer Sign-Up Sheet Calendar Display.
Okay. We are not part of the multi-site, and so that's I was interested, but we are on WordPress.
Okay, so if you have a WordPress site, we do have licenses for all chapters to use, and so we can send you links to download the plugins, and then you can go ahead and set those up. It is more difficult for us to provide support, but we'll do the best we can.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So.
Okay. So you asked about the number of chapters using it. Here's just a quick slide that's showing we basically got 63 chapters on the multi-site, 56 are live. So far, 10 chapters have been using this and use it pretty extensively. There are 8 other chapters that use it limitedly or are in the start of beginning to use them.
For those, in both cases, whether extensively or limited use, what's the ramp up time to get members to buy in and start using them, and to what degree are they, let's say, tech savvy?
So I'll go ahead and start for my chapter, and then I'll let some others who are on speak for their chapters as well. So we were already using Google Sheets for online signups before this. You know, it was less elegant. They chose their name from a list. They could delete others by accident. They could delete themselves at any time. But, you know, we had already worked with our membership on getting them used to signing up online. This we moved to requiring logins, so there was a barrier with that, in that we had to work through all login issues that our members had with getting on the website. Mm-hmm. Some chapters have chosen not to require login just for that reason. It's much simpler and less of a barrier to not. We do all of our signups now online for our thrift shop, for all of our philanthropies, for meeting RSVPs, everything. And they've become quite used to it. But we've done that, transitioned this over probably 5 years.
Ah, okay.
So we started the Google Sheet solution about 5 years ago. And okay. We always, the reason we sign-up sheet managers are so critical is we offer, if they don't want to sign themselves up online, either don't have the capability, don't want to be bothered with it, they can contact the sign-up sheet, the volunteer scheduler for that area, and they will help get them signed up.
Okay. Okay.
So I think that's an important step. When you do this and you roll it out to your membership, you've got to continue to give a path for those who aren't comfortable with doing it to still be able to sign up.
Okay.
Does anybody else want to share their thoughts?
Do you think that realistically in implementing something like this that you would expect about a year ramp up? Or do you think it's less than that?
Why don't I let some of the chapters who have just started using this? I know Shirley with Greater Placer, Greater Williamton, and I think there's a few other admins on the line that might be able to share their situation as well.
Well, this is Shirley, and I don't mind sharing at all. We are moving forward. We do have our office reservation online, and it's very well received. But as you asked about the ramp-up time, it's been about 1.5 years that we've been working with members to sign online, because we are one chapter that requires the member to sign on to access the sign-up sheets. And we've taken 1.5 years just to sign on, because we also started with Google Forms and sign up for our service hours.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the members used to doing that first, and now we've gotten into the PTA volunteer sign-up sheets. But in telling you that to empower your members in which to sign up, you do need the support of the chairs of the philanthropic or the events. If you're going to do an event sign up, you need their support. You also need support of the board, etc. So there's a basic process that you go through before you get into this.
Yeah, just through experience, although there may be the support of the board and the chairs, sometimes getting the membership to move forward can be extremely problematic.
Right. You'll have your third that are really excited that you've done this and think you should have done it years ago. You'll have your third, another third that are, begrudgingly coming along, and the third will just say, look, I'm just going to call someone.
Yeah.
Nikki,
Yes.
we had our site on High Point for a number of years, and we used their sign-up calendar for our thrift shop, and for a number of years. So we got people, all of our members, used to signing it up online. And last May, we transferred to the multi-site and went immediately to the calendar sign-up system. And I would say, 60% of our members do use it regularly to sign up for different events and for our thrift shop shifts.
Nikki, we have one question. I don't think there's a cost, but I'd like you to answer to make sure. Tracy asks, is there a cost for the PTA sign-up plug-in license?
No. We have lifetime licenses to use these solutions, and it has been covered by National.
Any other questions? Okay, one more. Oh, gone. Okay, one. Is it Carol?
Yes.
Okay. You're on.
My question is, do the chapters have one person who is sort of technologically proficient that manages all of this? And is that person a volunteer, or do you have a paid person?
Our chapter is 100% volunteers, and I am the website administrator, and I provide assistance when needed, but we have a lead sign-up sheet manager, and she basically creates all of the sign-ups and calendars. And then in addition to them, we have our schedulers, and they're the ones who basically, a lot of times they'll just use the calendar itself and their capabilities as sign-up sheet managers to clear members and help sign them up, things like that. So definitely all volunteers for us. And I think that's the case for both Greater Williamton and Greater Placer, right?
Correct.
And who provides the training to them to get it off the ground?
Us as a committee will provide the initial training.
Okay.
There's documentation, as well as you have access to our team.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Elisa, I'm going to try you one more time. You still have your hand up. can you hear us? Sorry, Nikki, just making sure. I don't see any other, oh, I see one more hand. Susan?
Yes, I'm wondering whether or not this PowerPoint is going to be available on the national website for us to show to our board. We recently, as in yesterday, voted to go with the multi-site, and we are not going to roll out until after our June fundraiser. But I want to be up and running for Operation School Bell shifts, et cetera, by the fall time. So I'm wondering if I would be able to show this to our board for, to show them the advantages of having this sign up feature as part of the multi-site.
Nikki, I can answer that. Susan, the handout, the actual PowerPoint is in the handout portion of the pane. It's over to the right side of your screen.
Uh-huh.
And it says handouts.
Okay.
And it also is being recorded, and this recording will be uploaded to the national website.
Oh, great, great.
Shirley, I think they missed the intro because the recording hadn't started. Yeah.
I think that's the case. But I believe everybody knows the handout is there now, and also the recording will be up to the national website.
And we will have all of these documents on the national technology page, and that is listed here in that second bullet. So you'll be able to find everything there. I thought you might want to see, while we're waiting to see if anybody else had questions, basically how these calendars look and behave. So here's an example of the Thrift Shop calendar. I didn't start it until March. But here you can see each of the different receiving. This calendar is not set up to display the times or any of the summaries, and I can go in and quickly change those so you can see. But a member would just come in, click on sign up, and it's going to go ahead and pre-populate my information. And if I wanted to sign someone else up as a sign up sheet manager, you see it just went and found Chris. I choose her, it populates it, and then signs her up. Oh, that was a sheet example.
We have
that's an example of going back to the. Yes.
One other question from Carol Kovac.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. I was going to ask to see the example, but on that same vein, when we opt to use either the sign up template or the calendar template, we already use a Google Calendar for our chapter calendar. Is that the same calendar that we would be integrated with, or we would yet have a second calendar for just signups?
If you have a chapter calendar on Google that you want to continue to use, by all means, you don't need to move that content over to this tool. This just gives you that option should you want to. So no, the calendars are not integrated. You would have your chapter calendar, and again, it's probably just a link or a menu on your website to your Google Calendar, and then you'd have different calendars for signups. So maybe you have a page with the sign up links, or you've got, you could list here your OSB calendar, whatever it be.
Okay, thank you.
Here's an example where I've gone ahead and displayed times, tasks, and then the summary with the sign up links. And this one comes to the sign up pop-up screen. And again, as a sign up sheet manager or a administrator, I can auto search on people and quickly sign them up. And you can see that stays within the calendar and why I prefer it. Here's Joanne's now signed up. Not sure if there's anything else folks would like to see or demo.
Can you show us the retail calendar, what that looks like?
This is my OSB retail calendar. And you can customize these. You can choose what you want to show and not show. This one, I do have the times and the tasks. I have the name list. I'm allowing them to clear, and I have my summary. This is typically what I show for my chapters. Sometimes I will leave off the times, especially if I have a lot of tasks. And it's always the same time. This one, I would leave it because on Tuesday, it's at 9 a.m. versus on Wednesday at 4. But on my in-house calendar, they're all at the same time every day. 9:15 to 2 for chairman of the day, 9:30 to 1 for helpers, and 11 to 1:30 for data entry. And so it's just cluttering my calendar. And so I'll typically not display the times. And to do that, I can just go in, find my calendar. So this is, oops, where's my mouse? There we go. This is my in-house calendar. I'm going to go ahead and edit it. And I'm going to say, I don't want to show task times. I hit update. And then if I were to refresh this calendar, I should have added some February events, so I wouldn't have to keep going over to March. But now you can see it's more consolidated. I believe Greater Williamton and their thrift shop don't even include the summary, the 0 full 10 open, because it takes up space. When you look at their thrift shop calendar, I think it just shows the tasks and the sign up.
Nikki, there's...
And then what they include above their calendar is the Tuesdays and Wednesdays have 3 staffers, Thursday, Fridays 2, and Saturdays 3, so on. And then I think they list their start times there as well. Go ahead, sorry. Shirley?
Janice just asked a question a couple minutes ago. On sending emails, scheduled tasks can receive auto emails when signing up, reminder, and canceling. How do members access the sign-up sheets not attached to calendar?
So you can create a page. What you end up doing is, here's one. And actually the bingo one is the same. So that's probably a better one to show. You can create a page with a sign-up sheet. And your administrator will have to help with that because sign-up sheet managers can't create pages. But you can display a sign-up sheet on a page, and then you send a link out to that page. So you just send a link with this URL to the page. Did I answer your question? Hopefully.
I think you did. Yes, I don't see anything else from her.
I do recommend that you utilize either a page with all of your signups. So if they've lost their email, they can always come into this page to access the different signups. You can do a page on your own, or you can utilize that current volunteer signups page. I think I missed this actually in the presentation, in that this can be confusing, especially if you use multiple recurring sign-up sheets to represent an event. So you can see here, you've got the thrift shop Thursday, Friday as one, Tuesday, Wednesday here, and there's the Saturday one. So they're each listed separately. And when you click on one of these, it takes you to a calendar with just that day. So you can see how this can create confusion if you utilize these. Now, on the plus side, chapters like that it provides this section at the bottom for when members are logged in that shows them what shifts they're signed up for. So you have to decide for your chapter, is this a useful tool or does it create more confusion?
We have another question. We are not currently using multi-site or WordPress. What is the cost to sign up for these?
Okay, so the multi-site, all of the costs are absorbed by the National Assistance League. So there is a $500 onboarding cost, and then there are recurring hosting and maintenance costs. The National Assistance League pays for all of those. They have committed to do that for the foreseeable future. That the PTA apps are included with the multi-site. If you were, honestly, I don't know what the costs are to create your own WordPress site. I can imagine that you probably could find a fairly cheap hosting cost, but then there's always the maintenance costs and the expertise that you would need to be able to do that yourself.
Are there any other questions? One. Susan, you're unmuted.
Yes, for the individual that just asked the question, if you're not on multi-site and you don't use WordPress, what the cost is, if they'd like to send me information or send me email, I can answer that question. A year and a half ago, the Portland chapter moved off of High Point and went with WordPress and are hosted by Bluehost, and we have a consultant that helps as needed on some of the things. Our chapter is very low on technology, and most everything that's done via software is done by myself, including the web. So if you're interested, then send me email and I can give you some information about what it costs us per year.
And so she's talking about a standalone WordPress site for a chapter versus the multi-site.
Correct.
There are several other advantages that come with the multi-site. There's shared branding, there's shared costs that National is covering. There's we continuously trying to upgrade the solutions and provide support for you for those. We provide you with templates to quickly be able to create pages. We kind of watch the different sites, and when we see some interesting templates, we go ahead and share those with other chapters so that they can learn from others and create more creative pages and things like that. So I know that we're working on our manual for chapter management section, and one of the documents that is going to be published there are benefits for joining the multi-site, and there's a long list of things there. So look for that in the near future.
Any other questions? All right, Nikki, I don't see any other questions. So thank you, everyone, for attending today's webinar, and have a great rest of the day. At the end of the webinar, you will all receive a survey. Please try and answer that. We really appreciate your feedback. Thank you.